Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to the Reality of Real Estate podcast. I am one of your hosts, Christopher Lynch, and welcome my co-host.
Hey everybody, my name is Brianna Lehmann.
We give you a real take on making homeownership attainable.
We will be breaking down real-life scenarios, trends in the current market, and giving you our personal tools to make homeownership not just your dream, but your reality.
Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and ready to take action towards building your own empire.
Because when you invest in real estate, you aren't just purchasing a home, you're investing in your future. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Reality of Real Estate podcast. I am Bree.
I'm Chris.
And we are excited to be back again to talk to you guys about our favorite thing, which is real estate and lending.
Yes.
And how they can blend together and make your life way easier than what you probably think it can be.
Because why would you even?
Should we just keep going?
Yes, we should just keep going.
So if you did not tune into our very first episode, I just want to touch base on who I am again. I don't know if you want people to know who you are, but I am Brianna Lehmann. I work with Keller Williams Legacy Group Realty, and I work on Jose Medina's team as a buyer specialist.
And I am Christopher Lynch, and I work for Cross Country Mortgage with the Christopher Lynch team. And I am licensed in Ohio and in Florida. And I'm essentially an originating branch manager.
I always forget that you are licensed in Florida.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of business in Florida?
It's enough, but
Enough.
it's
That's
just
good to know.
It's different. So I'm not like, ooh, let me just jump on in there. It's not the same. So because it's just
But
not
that's good to know, because I do have buyers who, especially like they want to buy their second home or whatever in Florida, all the entire state, or do you?
No, just,
Well, just
Fort
some,
Lauderdale.
yeah, some people just Orlando.
I'm just,
or,
licensed in Florida for Fort Lauderdale only.
Hey, maybe that's where your office is. I don't know. That's why I'm asking, because
Oh
they'll
my
ask the same
gosh.
thing.
No, it's all of Florida.
Well, I'm licensed in Ohio, but I don't service every city in Ohio.
You could.
I have people who do. Like if I don't service Toledo, I can get you in touch with an agent who does. So
That's nice. But no, for like mortgage
that's
related.
nice.
Mortgage related.
Just defending myself already. We're in 3 minutes and here I am. Okay.
I love it.
Nice.
But mortgage wise, yes, like if it's a state, I can just do the whole state. So for right now, Ohio and Florida.
Okay, well, good for you for that. I'll work on my second state. I don't know where I'd go, but all right. So today's discussion, moving right along, may be a 2-part discussion, depending on how in depth we get today. But what we really want to touch base on is, Chris calls it a journey, I call it a roadmap, whatever fits best for your lifestyle on the home buying process. And we could go a lot of different directions with this. So we'll see where we get today. And
we'll start like right at the beginning. What does your first interaction with a buyer look like? And like, what is that called? Walk us through that.
So it depends on where the buyer got in contact with me, whether it is a referral from a past client or whether it is a team lead, which could look like many things, usually a call-in lead or an inquiry on our website. It just depends. So let's just say a buyer called in on one of our properties and I answered the phone that day. Typically, it's going to look like this. Hello, I'm Brianna with Jose's team. How can I help you? What property are you calling in on? They're going to tell me. They're going to have some very distinct questions in that moment, and they're going to want to go see that property.
Okay.
We're probably going to go see that property right away.
Okay.
Get that contact. But so much is missed already by just making that appointment with those clients that is very vital to the buying process in especially with our team, like we really push to get buyers consultations because the market is changing every single day. And whether they are fifth time buyers or first time buyers, having that face-to-face conversation with here's all the tools, this is the process, this is what it looks like now and how it could look like for you is definitely the first step for me that I try to get them in. And sometimes I will, and so we talk about this a lot, is like kind of becoming a chameleon to the people you're talking to, learning those personalities in 30 seconds on the phone where,
Yep.
all right, this is somebody who just wants information now, or someone who is like, they are very detailed oriented. Those are the people that we can usually, or I can usually say like, okay, let's meet first and then we'll go see the property.
Yeah.
So that's the first step for me is typically like, let's get into a buyer's consultation, which is about 30 to 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, depending on how many questions they have and how detailed they want to get into the contract. I always have a contract present with me and giving them an idea of this is what the overview looks like. And as we go through, we'll kind of close that lens, the wide camera lens, down to what we're specifically looking at in our contract.
I like that. That's really odd that you said like it can go from like, it ranges from 30 to 45 minutes or sometimes in an hour, because like that's how my initial consultation call can go.
Right.
And it does really depend on where and how I receive the lead. So like if it is a referral, like from a friend or family member, or like a referral partner, or someone who just happened to like, Google mortgage lenders near me.
Right.
And regardless, if they don't know me, you have to take the time to basically get to know them.
Right.
And so like I am going to have some people who require automatically right off the rip a Harvard customer service voice. And then there's some people who just automatically are just like, hey, no, like I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I need to know X, Y, and Z. And just like, what pace are we going, here?
Right.
And so you have to meet people wherever they're at. So I
love
can't
that,
tell you
for sure.
like, right, today in our first call that, oh, hey, like, here goes your application, do X, Y, and Z. And you're just like, I don't even know what a mortgage is. And
that's not even a joke, because I've had, when I've talked to buyer and I'll say, so are you paying cash? Are you pre-approved? What does that mean? Like, I'm not paying cash, but what is pre-approved? Like, what's a lender? I've literally had the question, what's a lender? And that's not like anything to them. There is, for us who deal with this terminology every day, we work in the real estate world. When someone says lender, I'm like, yeah, that's second language to me. And so like with you, like the importance of these consultations and these, like, we really need to see where you are at. Like, let me meet you where you are at and what you know or what you don't know, or what you don't know, you don't know. And
right. Because there's just no point in that conversation to automatically make the assumptions. And so like, I always like to ask people and say, what is it that you want to know or accomplish in this phone conversation?
Yes.
And or good. Like if you're in my office, same questions, except for like we're here live in the moment. Because if I just start rattling things off to you, I've never taken a chance to actually get to know who you are. And I never took the chance to ask you what it is that you are actually looking for.
Yeah. What's your goal? Like,
And so like, it's, what are your goals? What do you know? What don't you care to know about? Just like those things, to where at that point you're building healthy, good rapport with them.
Right.
And you get to know them, and you basically go into step 2 from there of, okay, now it is time for you to complete an application. You complete the application, and then now we're going to review your credit, go over that. We're going to discuss different loan types. We're going to discuss all the things that kind of go along with basically what fits your needs best. And if they weren't referred to me by an agent, now we need to have the conversation. Do you have an agent? And what does that look like for you? And if they say, no, I don't have one, Now I basically need to go through my referral partners, and I'll be honest, I pick people based upon personalities. So like I'm just
It's
like, who are you going to
key.
vibe with?
Right. It's key because if I have a client that I know is not going to mesh with your personality, why would I ever send them to you? It's not going to benefit them, you, or me, because they're going to be like, crazy lady. Like, you just sent me to someone that does not, like, we don't mesh at all. So it's very key. And that's another reason why getting in front of your clients, getting to know them, what is their goal, what is their personality, how can I help you?
Yeah.
And not even like, what is your personality, but what do you expect from me?
Yeah.
Like, what are your needs? Like, how am I going to benefit you? Like, are you more statistical? Do you want the stats? Do you want the numbers? Are you just someone that's like, stop talking to me, get me the contract, get me into the inspection, get me into the house? That is
And I'm
it.
always so confused, like by like someone who's just like, nope, I found a house, I like it, I don't care about the payment, I don't care about this, I just love the house, and it's like,
Isn't it like, you're like, what is the catch here?
yeah, and
Like
I'm
a
like,
secret shopper.
yeah.
When
I'm
I
like,
used to work at Smoothie King, we'd have secret shoppers. And when you get those buyers that are like, I already found the house, I want to write an offer, I met you 2 seconds ago, I'm like,
do you want?
this is suspicious. This is suspect.
But it's like, it's
I
sometimes
love
like,
you, but this is
it's
weird.
how it
Yeah.
happens. Like with leads, it's like we don't really actually get to know each other until they're under contract, and then depending on like the urgency that is actually, time is of the essence all the time in real estate. But if you send me a lead this morning, offers are due by 9 tonight, and I need to talk to them, they need to apply, but they've already seen the house, they love it, and they're just like, this is what I want to do, but so and so told me I had to call you, and it's just like, okay, well, let's make it work.
Right.
So then at that point, I don't even know anything about you until you apply, and I say, yeah, this makes perfect sense, or I'm just like, hey Bree, like, did they have a pre-approval,
yeah, did you talk to
or
them? Right.
like,
Yeah.
what's happening here? And then we kind of just, go from there. But then in addition to that, like, you go under contract, how long is that contract?
Right.
So we're like building solid rapport, because at the end of the day, no matter the client, I want to be your lender for life. So I'm going to take the time, whether it's you just got like, we met today, or we've been talking together for months. Regardless, we're going to get to know each other.
Right. Right. And that's the point, like, for me. And it doesn't work out like that every single time. I would love for it to. And that is definitely where I'm pushing my business, is to always do a buyer's consultation first. We can have the 10-minute phone call and we can talk, but really sitting down and getting to know somebody and showing them, what is your goal? So here's our end goal. These are all the steps to get there. And this is what it looks like. So when we hit this bump in the road, or we hit this milestone, you will have already heard it. You will already be anticipating it, and it will not be as like,
it won't be a
what is
shock,
this?
and
Yes.
it won't feel like, like something foreign to you when we've already discussed it.
Right.
And so like, you have your consultation, you start looking for homes, and then you find a home, then what does that even look like? So when like you find a house and we've already gotten them pre-approved. So at that point, like, are we regrouping and are we talking numbers, or are you confident in the numbers that we set from the beginning, even if it is a lower like price point, but you're still confident and you feel like I don't have any additional questions? Get that offer submitted. We're talking, and then what?
Right. And the numbers could fluctuate, because a lot of times when I'm meeting with my buyers, it's not a 2-week process. We have our buyer's consultation. They talk to their lender, they get pre-approved, and then we start looking, and then we're a couple months out, and maybe the numbers that they talked about 3 months ago with their lender, well, rates are different today, or now you're looking in a different area, so taxes are different. There's just so many components that go into it.
Yes.
So again, having this, I call it a roadmap. You call it a journey.
It's a journey. It's like, like.
Yeah, but you need a roadmap for your journey.
Listen,
Like, you got to know where you're going.
That's why on a journey, just like, but you never know where you're going all the time in real estate.
That's true, because every transaction is very different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's a
fair.
journey, man.
But at least they have like a kind of a map, you know, to get there.
Bye.
But okay, so on my roadmap, your journey, whatever, you know, we do talk about the different scenarios. And
Yes.
one thing I do say in my buyer's consultation is like, it's such an overused phrase in real estate, but we don't have a crystal ball. There may be things that come up in this transaction in the inspection. Well, this is what we're going to do. Or in the appraisal, this could happen. So out-of-pocket expenses, something that buyers, I won't say all buyers, and even seasoned buyers who have purchased several times are like, hey, remind me again, like, what is earnest money? What is that term? Or how much are inspections now? Or who pays for the appraisal? These are questions that let's talk about them now. And you can ask me them again 15 times throughout the process, but at least
You've established a
yes.
foundation.
And you've heard this term before. You don't have to remember it when we walked out of our consultation, but here's some information. Ask me again, you know?
I always look at it this way, especially like when it comes to like what are all the costs and like where's all this money going?
Mm-hmm.
I always like to ask my clients from the very beginning, once I feel like we have, like when we're trying to talk numbers and like you get your pre-approval, or even once I know you've applied to establish where you can be pre-approved at,
Right.
is that how much would you like your total out-of-pocket, like, to be allocated towards this transaction? What do you want that number to be? What does it need to stay, you know, around? Because there's some people who say $500. Well, automatically we need down payment assistance, or
Right.
we know that we're looking at, like, if you are a veteran and you qualify to, you know, do a VA loan, we know we're going that route. Or we're looking at, if you're looking in a rural area, USDA, those sorts of things. Or if it's just like, hey, like I have $100,000 to go towards this, then at that point in time, I'm saying, is that $100,000 including, so down payment and closing costs and like your inspections, those sorts of things? Because what you don't want to happen is when they go under contract, sure, numbers can always fluctuate just because rates change and those sorts of things. But what happens if like they had to replace something in their car or whatever, and then like that taps into their cash to close amount? Or if someone who's selling a house and we say, hey, your expected net profit is going to be $130,000. Well, now it's sat on the market, you accepted an offer at $100,000 less, you know, like basically now your net profit is $100,000 and we thought it was 130. So now we have to stay in communication, but we also have to know.
You're saying like a seller that's selling, that has to sell to buy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's like, we need to know what numbers we're working with, because I don't want to just throw a number and say, hey, like, this is what you need to do. And there are some situations where it's just like, hey, this is the only way it works. But ideally, like, I want for them to feel comfortable and confident in the decision making. So you get to tell me, this is how much money I have. This is how much of it I want to allocate towards this transaction. And then I know what I have to work with. And if it works with like what they're set on, perfect. If it doesn't, I can come back to you and say, hey, like, you're trying to buy this $700,000 house or this, you know, $150,000 house, and this is how much money you want to allocate. But in reality, this is what we need. And so truthfully, the reality of this is that it's either this numbers go up or we have to explore a different option. But now I've made you a part of the process, and you can be comfortable and confident to make that decision.
Right. And then a lot of times too, that's like you'll tag your agent back in, right?
Yeah.
And say, and again, another very important piece of like getting that initial like relationship built is because now I'm going to know who your lender is, and I'm going to be able to advocate for you on my end, working directly with the lender to make this transition and make this transaction, much more smooth and beneficial to you as the buyer.
And that's why it's so important to like pick your team wisely. And because you will have some lenders who won't talk to the agent, and you will have some agents who won't talk to the lender.
Yeah, which is crazy. That is crazy. I have had lenders never return my phone call the entire transaction. And now I will say it was never a local lender that has done that. It's, you know, been the bigger lenders that, But
Online, we'll just say
yeah,
online.
online lenders, and I have never physically spoke to a lender, and that is terrifying to me.
Yeah.
Because the lending, if you need lending to purchase a home, that is the biggest component of the transaction.
Yes.
Typically, I mean, they can't buy it without it, so it is the biggest transaction or
Piece,
component
yeah.
of the transaction. Without that team, how it leaves me speechless. It really does, where I'm just like,
What are you supposed to do? And like that's just where it's helpful. And then but also you'll notice that so let's just say here, if we never had worked together before, but then this is like our first transaction that we're working on together, like we can then compliment each other and say like, hey, like, like you're working with Chris, or you're working with Bree, and like like her communication is great. Like I sent this over to her, she already got it back to me, and vice versa.
Right.
So like, but we can share that information with our client, and so like they know that we have communicated, and instead of you don't know, and then it's just like, oh, the appraisal came back. I've communicated that with you, the client, the other agent, and everyone is on the same page. Everyone knows, instead of like only updating the client. The client is the one who calls you and say, hey, I got my appraisal back. And you're just like, wait, you did? And like communication is key. And so like there's just so much of the process that it has to be communicated well, but also to all parties involved, because if not, something is going to fall in between the cracks. And
setting expectations. Again, it's like, we are not attorneys, and I'm not comparing myself to one, but would you hire an attorney?
I want to be a lawyer so bad.
I know you do. Go back to school. I don't know what to tell you about that. But would you hire a lawyer without ever sitting down with them and saying, this is how I want you to represent me? Same with an agent. Like, a part of the consultation process for me is, am I a good fit for you? Do you feel like what you need from me, I'm going to be able to give you? And here's all of my tools, and this is how I work, and this is how I operate. I don't want to work with somebody who feels like I'm not representing them the way that they need either.
You could never be a public defender.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
Well, that's why I'm not doing that. You can go ahead to that career path, but I'm going to stay where I am.
I'm not leaving
it.
But that is real.
In setting up the expectation. If I just met you at a house one day because I picked up the phone and I show you the house, and that's great, but we don't build that relationship, I could go through the transaction thinking I'm doing everything great because I'm doing my job and I'm following step by step.
Because you follow the standards, but in reality, you never gave them what they like vice versa for them to know, like, and trust you.
Right.
And so because there was never, the expectation wasn't there from either side. It was just like, hey, nice meeting you today. And, realistically, this is the easiest transaction ever. Don't have to talk to you besides like when it's necessary. But like, who wants to do business that way?
Right. It doesn't feel like you get through it and you're like, yeah, I really didn't build a relationship through that. And that's why I do this. That's a huge part of why I'm a buyer specialist and I work with buyers, is because I get to build that relationship. I get to build that bond with these people and go through one of the biggest milestones of their life or their next part of their life, whether it's their first time, their fifth time. I get to be a part of that memory with them. So it does matter to me, And
it should, though. But like neither business could survive without relationships.
Absolutely.
And so if you don't have like sound, like strong relationships on either side of this, and that's with clients, referral partners, whatever, you won't survive.
Right.
And so when you do happen to run into a transaction like that, by all means, it's never intentional. It's just that.
And you will have those.
Yeah. It's just like, this is what happened. This is how it happened. But like when it's over with, you're just like, dang, I really didn't even get to know those people like the way that I wanted to.
Right. And there may be some agents who don't care about that are
but
just
I care.
But I care about that. Like, I want to get to know you. I want you to know like who I am and why I do this. And again, read the room. So if they don't want that, I'm certainly not going to give them my autobiography about who I am, but I want to get to know you. We're going through this together, and setting those expectations. Like, go back a little bit where we're working as a team. There's going to be times in our transaction where I kind of hand it over to you or whoever their lender is, where it's like, okay, this part of the transaction is the appraisal. They want everything you've ever done financially. You're going to talk to them a little bit more than me during this part of the transaction. I am still here. Call me with your questions. I had a buyer this weekend call me. They're like, hey, I texted the lender. I couldn't get a hold of them. Wasn't you. Don't worry.
I was going to set that out there. It wasn't me.
Yeah. But do you know what this is? Like, what is it was actually for PMI. They're like, what is this mortgage insurance? And I was like, yeah, I can actually help you with that. Like, I know what this is. So having that expectation too, so that they never feel like abandoned. And now with the lender, you're talking to them the whole time, but
yes,
you know, so yeah, I mean, I definitely think that this is a topic that we should dive deeper into. Like, I talked a lot about having a consultation, but
we need to go in a little bit more in depth. And so like, we will basically carry over into a part 2 of this, because we do need you to, like, we can talk about, like, you know, out-of-pocket costs more. We can talk about
that's huge.
Like what happens at an inspection. We can talk about what happens with an appraisal, like,
and how they're different.
Yes,
we get that question a lot. Is, well, I thought the bank has my inspection. Two different things: home inspection and appraisal. So we should definitely talk about that.
Yeah, and then talk about like what the title company does, because they play a big role into this as well. And then when you get the appraisal back and what that looks like, and same way with an inspection when that comes back, and are inspections necessary?
Yes. Yes, they are.
that was a gentle whisper. And then, but also then, like, finally, what does it look like when you're getting emails and says, like, you know, like, your file is now in processing, now it's in underwriting,
or it's conditionally approved. I get that
like,
question all the time. Are we approved? Are we approved?
And it's like, nope, we have conditions, and we got to check a few more boxes off, and then we'll get to the closing table. And then the final, you know, the finish line is the closing table. And so we'll walk you guys through those other steps. And then, but yeah, I mean, I feel like for today, I liked part 1.
We talked a lot. Yeah. We always talk a lot, but there's a lot of details in there. And I think, like, on part 2, let's simplify some of this too, because I know I can overcomplicate things sometimes when I'm talking, like, and jumble it all together. But yeah, definitely, let's do a part 2 of this and dive into it a little bit more.
I like it. And if anyone wants to email us, and we can actually email you basically like a simplified version, like breakdown as well.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It'll just be like a simplified version to just say, hey, this is step 1 through step X. And then we just kind of go through there. But like, we still want to get to know you. So we still want to walk you through the process step by step and be there with you. And so, like, I would say, like, yes, we can do that. But if you do email me, my email is christopher.lynch@ccm.com.
And mine is blehmanrealtor@gmail.com. And follow us on Instagram at The Reality of Real Estate Podcast, so that you can stay up to date and see what we are doing.
I want you guys to know that we are still trying to work out a proper ending to our show and
exit, because all we got is toodles.
So for a while, you might just hear a quick old toodles, and just know that it's not that we don't care. We're just trying to figure it out, because we could keep talking for hours. And so instead of keeping you here until the next episode, like, it's just like a, hey, we're not trying to give you a drive-by, but it's just like a quick, like, see you later until next episode.
Sounded like you said drive-by.
No, drive-by.
Dry goodbye is what he said.
Yeah, you know, like a burnt piece of toast. It's just dry. Like, I'm not trying to do you like that. I just want to say bye.
Okay, bye.
Toodles.
We'll see you next time. Toodles.
Bye, guys. All right, friends, as we close things out today, remember, homeownership is more than just a roof over your head. It's a symbol of your strength, resilience, and determination.
Take action, embrace growth, and never be discouraged about where you are in your journey.
And remember to follow us on Instagram at Reality of Real Estate Podcast.
Our emails are linked in the description below. You can reach us at
Christopher.lynch@ccm.com.
and my email is blehmanrealtor@gmail.com.
All right.
Toodles!